Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you don't get your shithead friends out of the way, I don't know how you expect to find really quality friends to be with.
Yeah, no. I was in a call the other day with my friend Noah, who he's been through like mental mastery, my like OG self improvement course from 2023. And he asked me a question. He was like, "What do you think of?" And it was kind of a joke, but like not really. He's like, "What do you think of like switching up on your day ones?" And I gave him kind of a spiel on that. And then I was with Akiva, who's in the Life Max group. He's a friend of ours, IRL, and we were hanging out. And I brought him around some of my other friends that are all like bigger ecom guys, just ambitious guys, hustlers, whatever you want to call it. And he also asked me, like, how did you get connected to people like this? Like, what is going on here? Because I guess when you're not in it, like we have each other, we have people we know and stuff. But I remember like a couple of years ago, I would look at someone and be like, "How do you know all these people?" Like my boy Caleb, who's so well connected. I'm like, "How do you know all these people? How did this work?" And to kind of like go back to what I said pretty much the same thing to both of them. And it's a little contrary because a lot of people say, isolate yourself until you make $1 million. Shut yourself in a room. And I kind of bought into this. Like when I was in
Yeah, me
Houston,
too.
I had some normie friends, but especially before you were there and after you left and stuff, it was really like my girl worked 10 plus hours a day and she wasn't like in the same world as me. And I was just home by myself in my head all day. And I would argue it was much more negative. There was phases where I needed to be meditating like 30 minutes to an hour a day. I needed to go through all that. But then I just like stayed in that moat far too long because I was like, oh, well, this is the lonely chapter. I'm hustling and whatever. Whereas when I actually reflect on every time I've been connected to someone, so if we go back to like the first real connection that like made a change for me is when I was like working front desk at Alpha Elite Gym. I was making my vlogs. I had like 500, 600 subscribers. And there was this guy that would always come in. His name was Remington. He did like anabolic cooking videos, fitness stuff, whatever, made money selling cookbooks, that whole thing. And he would always come in and I liked him because I was an introvert and he was a yapper. So it was like I could just throw out one sentence and he'll just start like talking and like talking and talking. And I like that because like, oh cool, I can have a social interaction, but there's not a lot of I don't have to throw a lot of hits, I can just kind of
Yeah.
like listen. And one time he came in and I said, "Oh, how's the YouTube content going?" He's like, "Good, man, but there's all this different content I want to make and I really need help. I film all myself, I edit all myself, and it took every like ounce of courage within me to say, well, I make videos, I can edit, I could help you. And he was like,
Mhm.
"Oh, really?" And he was like, I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Okay, well, here's my email, send me some stuff." So I sent him some stuff. I ended up working with him for a couple videos, and that is what then landed me a job working for James English, the bodybuilder, fitness influencer, and that became a long-term friendship. And then I got connected to a lot of people around that and that the time I got that, the time I got connected to like my best friend Caleb, who has introduced me to so many people, and like all leading up to now, where I have like an elite group of friends. Like I have you, I have all the people out here, I have Caleb who's over in Miami. Is more the idea of if you build it, they will come, and not in terms of like stay in your room, isolate, and just make $1 million business. Because I would argue that's way harder than being surrounded by
Mhm.
like-minded people. But if you're actually that guy in terms of not that you've made it, not that you're rich, not that you've accomplished all these crazy things, but simply that you are building something. People can tell because we all have most humans have a pretty good bullshit detector, like whether people want to believe that or not.
Yeah.
So when you see someone, kind of like when we saw Akiva, and he's just a kid, and he doesn't have like any like, which this sounds fucked up. I don't mean that. Like, he doesn't have like a big business or anything, but like when
Right,
he
yeah.
joined the school and we hung out with him, we could just say like, oh, he's like one of those ones. Like he's hustling,
Mhm.
he's working on this photography business, he's doing all these things. Remington saw in me, even though I had like a couple hundred subs, like, oh, this guy's putting out content. He has a good taste at editing. He knows what he's doing. He knows his way around a camera. That was the same way with James because he saw me working for Remington. Then I got to work with James. So what I've told my boy Noah when we were in the call is I was saying, first of all, I did actually say, not to cut off your day ones, but I asked, and I think Hermosi said this, but it's when you're around, because he was talking about a specific high school friend. I'm like, when you're around this guy, are y'all mainly talking about other people y'all know and or stuff in the past? Or are y'all talking about like what's going on right now, what you're working on, your vision for the future? And he was like, it instantly, he's like, oh no. And I was like, yeah, if you're talking about all that bullshit 80% of the time, just cut them off, dude.
Yeah.
Like I get having grace, I get like loving your old friends and whatever, but like it serves you no purpose and it's doing you harm, like being around them a large amount of time. But that being said, I'm also not a fan, which I had to clarify. There's a lot of like weird networking stuff people will do. You know, maybe they're like DMing everyone on Instagram, they're going to all these events, and I've
Yeah.
seen this a lot, especially in Miami and LA. But it's like they're clearly just social climbing. They're clearly
Mhm.
only interested in talking to me because, oh, I have maybe 250K subs, or oh, I'm connected to this guy he wants to be connected to. And it's so surface level. Whereas when we've connected and like all my friends here, it was, yes, I was building something. Yes, I'm like one of them ones that's like actively pursuing a goal, but also I wasn't pursuing friendships out of scarcity. It was more of an attraction. It's just like money. It's like you can't chase the
Mhm.
money out of scarcity. You do your thing and the money will come. You do your thing and the friends will come. And that was not through going out and spamming, going to weird networking events and like being fake and climb the social ladder. But it also wasn't from locking myself in a fucking room till I made $1 million and had a cool car because yeah, that'll
Mhm.
attract the right people. No, it's gonna attract the fucking social climbers. So it
Right.
was a balance of like making friends along the way, being willing to say yes more than I was comfortable with, especially with my friend Caleb. He'd be like, "Let's go to Miami," and I'm like, "Okay, yes, let's do it. Let's book the flight." Oh, let's come visit me in California. Oh, okay, yes, let's do this. And you know, every person you meet, it's a tree. Like every person you meet is probably going to introduce you like 5 or 10 other people, and you're
Yeah.
just going to pick up the gems, like the good guys along the way, as long as you keep working on your shit. And you know, I don't want to rant too long. I want to pass this to you, but this is also what happened with when we met because I was focused on my thing. I was working out at Alpha Land and I was making my channel. You were in the same niche. You saw my channel. So like if you build it, they will come. You were like, oh, I want to go talk to this guy and connect to this guy. And now we are years later. We've done all these trips. We've hung out a ton. Now we're doing a podcast. But I'll get your thoughts on all that.
Yeah, no, so I was thinking with this, like, I think there's like a almost like a process to it, and I definitely had the same mindset of like of hearing that whole like be isolated, monk mode, lone wolf, all this bullshit. And I think the way is it's not that you're a lone wolf to a million or to like all of your success. What it is like I do think there's a period though where you go from like you do need to get out of a really bad environment and you don't have the pieces in place before you can go get those people. So
Right.
like if you're working at a fucking like some I don't know, a FedEx or Starbucks or some shit and you have no skills, you're just not going to it's not even anything personal. It's just you have nothing to bring to the table to know these people. And so in that moment, I do think stop hanging out with your day ones unless they are also moving in the right direction. And you need to find a skill that you can bring to the table and start building a career. But once you start building it, as soon as you've got those like initial nuggets, that's when you need to
Yeah.
get out of that situation and go start meeting people because then it will significantly benefit you. But yeah, I mean, even when we met, I think it's like once you've got those things in place, you got to start taking chances on yourself to meet these people. They're not just going to come into your life. Most of the time, you're the first you're the one trying to get into this environment. They don't need you and they have no reason to be looking around for the next hot shot coming up who has no fucking friends right now. So like you're going to have to put yourself in these environments. A lot of times that means moving. And so like for my example when we met, was me literally I worked at a UPS store. I had the YouTube thing and I wanted to take it full time. So there was my sort of skill cluster or career thing I was pursuing. And I was like, well, where are these people that do these kinds of things? And one of the places I thought of, the one that really hit me was Houston, Texas, because there's this Alpha Land gym and a lot of fitness people are there. And I thought fitness might be the path I was going to take. And so I moved to Houston, Texas, just betting on myself, not only just to make friends, but just to get into a different environment where I could hopefully grow this thing. And then I remember and again, it's the same thing with like, I can talk, like, especially when I'm around friends, I can be loud and talk a lot of shit and be confident, but like just approaching random people and all that stuff, definitely not something I do very often, definitely not something in my comfort zone. So I remember I recognized you and I'd seen you in the gym a couple times and just never said anything. And I literally had to just be like, I almost just like I think you were working on like the lat pull down machine on the other
Yeah,
side of
I
the
remember being
table.
on a cable machine.
You were on
Yeah.
a cable machine. I was on the other cable machine. I think you walked over and I was almost not gonna say anything. And I was just like, fucking say something. You know what I mean? So I just went up and introduced myself. And like you said, here we are today, like really great friends and all this stuff. And it's just like, you even think about those kinds of moments and it's like just taking a chance on yourself and how many doors that opens up. Imagine if I had not said anything, like how much different both of our lives would be. It'd be absolutely insane. So I think that's how I think about the making friends. It's like, get yourself out of a shit situation, get those basic things, and then immediately try and get yourself into the right situation around the right people, and that will start opening up doors for yourself. And yeah, like you said, it's not a social climbing thing. It can't be awkward and weird. You got to be coming at, like, if you're
Yeah.
like, I need friends, let me find friends or something, that's just weird. Like, you need to be thinking about providing value. You need to think about, like, be good with yourself and know you've got something to bring to the table as well. And when you're in that space, like, these friendships will, like, click like normal friendships. It's really, like, it's kind of funny that this has to be explained so much, because it's like, you were in high school or like kindergarten or some shit. How did you make friends? It's like you just talked and it was just like, now we're friends. It was like, it's the same thing. You just got to get around those people who have those same kinds of mindsets and stuff. And usually it's like, I know for me, it seems like for you with Caleb, for me, honestly, it was you. Like, you meet one person, they introduce you to a bunch of other people. And then also, like, I know in my area, like, I meet people based on the content I produce. Like, they'll come up and be like, I saw you on Instagram or something. And that's how I've met friends that I work out with pretty regularly. That's how I met our mutual friend Connor. Like, that's how I've met a lot of people too, is like, you're putting yourself out there, these doors start opening, and then it just, like you said, it's just a tree that keeps expanding out from there.
Yeah. No, it's there's a weird grace to it where it's like if I there's one thing is environment. Like first you get your nuggets, then you got to put yourself in some form of an environment. Like for some people it has to be digital. You know, it
Hmm.
might be like a mastermind you join, it might be a school community you
Yeah.
join, it might be like a Facebook group or just like a like money Twitter. Like I know that so many people have been connected just through money Twitter. Like they go and they post about their ecom store, someone else does an ecom store, they follow each other, they DM, things like that. And the difference between it being this weird social climbing thing and just like true attraction is like the same as if I go into the environment. The environment's there, it's good. Maybe I have my nuggets, but it's the difference between me having like this giant sharp grappling hook and trying to just like sink it in someone and pull them towards me and showing up with just like a magnet and just like
Yeah.
doing my thing with this magnet, and anything that floats around in the area is going to be attracted to it because I'm that person doing that thing. And there's a subtle grace to it because it's you still have to talk to people either way, but you know, when I threw that out to Remington, I wasn't thinking like, all right, I'm gonna say it just like this, and I'm gonna use him for this, this, and this. Is like, oh no, he needs help. He's a nice guy. I got something going on. Like we have this similarity, he has this problem. Let's see if I can help him with this problem. And with you, it was
Mhm.
like he's in the same niche as me. Like I'm just gonna say something. Like we both. It's funny. Like my moment with Remington was actually your moment with me. And now, like you looking back, you can actually like, oh, how it treed into everything, like leading up to our exact social groups at this very moment in time.
Yeah.
Like it all had to happen in that exact way.
Dude, our
But
lives
it
are
is true though.
yeah.
Like the thing, like going back to the whole build something first, is like a lot of people's arrogance makes them think they deserve these friends or this circle before they actually do. So the
Mhm.
actual like the key is like people say like, oh, have this big ego and this bravado. I'm like, yeah, that's gonna attract other people with giant egos who are like insecure fucks deep
Yeah.
inside. And those are people who are gonna fuck you over, those people are gonna talk shit about you, they'll snake you, they'll ghost you, whatever. You
Mhm.
can't be like that. You have to have a level of humility and like it sounds gay, but also like just a level of like brotherly love and like actually wanting to do good in the world and help people and care about people. And that literally turns you into the magnet that will attract
Yeah.
those people.
Yeah, you're the kind of person people wanna meet at that point. And you mentioned the school community. I think that's another, like, if you're in a spot where you don't, you don't know, like, your environment doesn't bring any of these people to you, I think, like, joining some sort of online community, like, I would tell you first thing is, like, I would really recommend moving if you're in that spot. But if you're not doing that, spend a little bit of money to join a paid community. Or else you're not, even if you don't wanna join mine, I don't give a fuck. But, like, honestly, like,
Only
the
twenty
guys in,
dollars though, guys. It's only
yeah, for
$20.
20, for fucking $20, I tell you it's worth it. But I mean, those guys in there, one of the reasons I'm kind of grateful it's a bit of a smaller community is because I have a pretty good relationship with all the guys in there. And so, like, they spent their little bit of money to join this group, and now, like you said with Akiva, like, that's to open tons of doors for him. The other guys in there, I've put them into
They're
different
all doing their
career
own
things.
calls. They're all doing 12 by 30 in their own daily calls. Like they're all
Yeah,
friends now because of
yeah.
that.
Yeah, they're literally, yeah, they're all doing their own calls, friends with each other. They're gonna meet up on the San Diego trip that we're gonna take. Like, just spend a little bit of money, take a chance on yourself, whether it's approaching somebody that you recognize that you want to have a conversation with, whether it's, spending a little bit of money. You got to take a chance on yourself out there. And, like, I mean, like I said, thinking about how much my life's changed just from having that conversation. And then I just think, it seems like your life really is made up of like 20 to 30 risks you took, and everything else is just kind of the mundane middle. And it's like, imagine if you just didn't take those fucking risks. And it's like nobody's taking a chance on themselves. And so their life just keeps repeating over and over and over again. And I guess this kind of like pivots us into the next topic we're going to cover, unless you had something else you wanted to add to this one.
This kind of fits into both, so I'll just squeeze it in right here.
Yeah, go ahead.
But you mentioned like the whole moving out thing. That's actually a conversation I had when I was in the call with this Noah kid, because I believe he just turned 19. He just graduated high school. He's wants to do this kind of entrepreneur thing. He has a couple like he has that. He's like really getting into like Orthodox Christianity, like a lot of things that like for his little circle in his little town is isolating, because he's like
Mhm.
he said, I have no one besides like you, like me, when we hop in these calls pretty much that's into this. And he asked me, he's like, do you think like you moving out of your hometown was pretty beneficial or like needed to happen? Or I don't remember exactly how I worded it, but basically, like, do you think you should move out of your hometown? And I was like, 100,000%. I
Yeah.
would have been
Uh-huh.
so fucked if I did not leave. Even though I was
Mhm.
fucked when I left. I took risks, dude. I went broke. Like I was just like I couldn't even get an apartment at first. It was me and my friend hopping around these like 20, $30 a night motels where I thought I was gonna die every night for like
Yeah.
2 weeks until we landed like a dump, like I don't want to shit on it, but like cheap, scary apartment complex or
Mhm.
whatever. But I had to do that. I had to like throw myself to the wolf, because this is a good, I think I talked about in this video, but like we're all on our own hero's journeys. So like we're all the hero on our own hero's journey, but also you'll end up being a mentor to someone else. So like, you'll end up being the wizard for someone else, and you'll end up finding the wizard, the sage, the mentor as well. Because like when it comes to friends, like we're not all equal in terms of like our progression through self improvement or business or anything, but that's okay. Like I don't remember who says this, but it's good to have people ahead of you that can mentor you, that kind of help expand your mind, that you want to be like, people on your exact level so you can talk about your problems, work on things together, and people below you so you can help teach them and bring them up as well. So it's like if you're actually out on your hero's journey, you're going to attract people on all those different levels. You're going to attract fellow heroes, you're going to attract mentors, and you're going to attract people that you are the mentor to them. But that only happens if you do the first part of the hero's journey, and that's leave the main setting.
Yeah.
It's when Luke went off his home planet. Like you have to leave that. And for some people, that's not, not everyone moves, and it's fine. But it is dependent on where you live. Like if you're in
Mhm.
like, dude, I came from my town had 3,000 people. I got stared at for having even a little bitty camera at my YMCA. Like I had to get out of there.
Yeah.
Or I would have had to like throw myself into like the internet world with all that. But at the time then it wasn't. Now everyone's a fucking content creator with a YouTube channel, TikTok. At the time that wasn't. It was not the case. I had to
Mhm.
physically leave the location. And the moment I left, the hero's journey began, and I was able to attract people at all those different levels because I took that risk.
Yeah, that you got it's like, I mean, it's even in the fucking Bible, like Abraham, God telling him to get the fuck out of his dad's tent and go do something with himself. It was like the call that every guy has to take. And then, so I guess that kind of leads us into this next topic, which we were going to cover, which was the whole taking risks on yourself is just absolutely essential as a man. And if you're not taking risks on yourself, whether it be to make friends, whether it be on starting that business, whether it be investing money, you're just not going to get anywhere for yourself. And I guess I'll just kind of like I'll lead this off, and then I know you had that one thing you were going to make the point of that I thought was good, but like I mentioned it right before we started, like seeing like people afraid to spend, whether it's $20 on my school community, whether it be like I said I saw on that Elijah Long guy's YouTube channel, somebody just grilling in the comment section for question after question about like what do I get from this $20 for joining Elijah Long's Patreon? And I was just like,
I have
dude,
no
how
patience anymore for people like that. I just
yeah, I
don't.
don't either. How fucking poor are you, dude? That's embarrassing. Like, you're just admitting that. Like, it's just disgusting?
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know where this comes from. I'm fortunate. I don't really think I've ever had that. I remember like spending like my last dollars on fucking self-improvement shit to help me get ahead. Like, so I don't know where that fucking comes from, but guys, if you're not taking risks on yourself, you've got no shot. Like absolutely no shot. You should be drained. If you're not already making good money, you should be draining your bank account to zero, spending it on trying to get ahead. And everyone's like worried about, yeah, but what if it doesn't work out? It's like it's not always gonna work out, but it's like the net is still way better. And then it's like, okay, I went to Houston, I ended up homeless, and like I'm glad. I mean, it was a good story, but like I would have preferred not to go homeless. It was a good story, but like I still was on net significantly better than if I had not done it. And like you living in a roach infested apartment or whatever was significantly better than if you'd stayed in your hometown. And it's just like, I mean, we still deal with this shit, like with chances we take on ourselves. It's like this whole like fear of risk thing is going to absolutely it's a selection thing. Like real shit. If you want quality friends, all of them are taking risks. So if you're not willing to take risks, congrats. You just sorted yourself out because like you said, you have no patience for these people who won't spend 20 bucks or I have no patience for people who just won't do whatever it takes at this point. Like if you're hesitant about that at all, oh, it's going to cost me a few $100, a couple $1,000 to get this thing started. I'm like, you're already like scarcity minded. I don't want that shit around me. But I'll let you kind of go into that point you had to make about this, but just like, yeah, the if you're not taking risks as a man, like what the fuck are you doing?
It's the great filter.
Yeah, it's one of
And
those
there's
things
levels
for
to it.
sure. Yeah.
Like, yeah, I took the initial risk, but and like you think, oh, I went out and started. I like Luke. I left the home planet. I'm going to fight the Empire. And then if you watch Star Wars, like, oh, he had to fucking do crazy shit over and over and over and over and over until he finally like
Mhm.
defeated it at the end. And he did
Yeah.
defeat it because the most recent three Star Wars don't exist and they don't count because those movies are dog shit.
Yeah.
Um, we don't talk about those. But no, like you said, like it may work out, it may not. I would argue it doesn't work. Like there's a 90% chance it doesn't work out. Nothing hits at first. And it's like it doesn't work out if you're just looking at the next couple weeks, couple months, maybe a couple years. But then years down the line where you're making it or you're getting progress, you look back and you're like, oh, it did work out.
Mhm.
Oh, me moving out did work out. Oh, you going homeless did work out. That risk made
Yeah.
perfect sense. And I've been thinking about this a lot recently because this is a good clip. This is a good soundbite. I haven't saved a dollar in the past 2 years, 2+ years.
Mhm.
Like right now, I have the same money I had 3 years ago in my bank right now because I have spent well over $10,000 on like courses, mentorships, all that stuff. I've spent multi five figures on like inventory now for 24th. I just spent a lot of money on 24th right now, as well as on ads and like paying down the Amex debt from like all different stuff with starting these businesses. And it's like there's not an extra dollar in my bank account, and yet all that was necessary. You know, I bought new gear, we took the trips, all these things, and it was risky if you look at it from a normie perspective, from a Dave Ramsey. Like, no, you got to put some aside. You got to put some in the S&P or in the Roth IRA or in the whatever. Where I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I didn't do that. What if I had an extra $50,000 in my bank account right now? It would be useless.
Mhm.
Like, cool, maybe I could survive for a year if I cut down my cost of living a ton
Yeah.
and
If you
told
just had a
told the
shitty
missus
life
we're
for a
going back
year.
to Walmart, not Whole Foods anymore.
Yeah.
But instead of that, I have none of that money because I put it out there into the ether and it's returned me things that are arguably, not arguably, are more valuable than the dollars on a screen that they don't exist either way.
It's
So
ROI mindset. It's like, are you you look at that $50,000 and like the money's useless if you don't use it. And so the real question is like, what's the return on what you're using it for? Hiding it in the bank account is just going down in value. It's like it's kind of the same with your time too. Your time is useless if you don't use it. And like people are just like they're just wasting this shit. And like it's like every time, like you said, like it's not one big moment. Like there are big moments that do occur, but like every single opportunity where you feel that little tinge of fear to take a chance on something, it's like a big question from the universe of like, are you going to take the call to adventure? Or are you going to fucking stay safe here? And like, I don't think I've ever regretted pulling the trigger. I'm not sure I've ever regretted it.
no, no, it was like it's always the hindsight 2020 things, which is actually like to instill confidence in those listening is like it's going to hurt right now. It's going to feel risky. You're not going to see the upside. And yet I can promise you the upside's there because every single time either of us has done it, it worked out. It
Yeah.
always works out if you just you have to keep doubling down. And that's like the levels, if there's levels of entrepreneurship, if that's what we want to call it, but basically like going beyond normie is it's like, yeah, you take a risk and then, oh shit, you hit another wall and you have to take the risk again. and a bigger risk and a bigger risk. And like the richest entrepreneurs, the richest men have taken the biggest risks. They've had the
Hmm.
largest amounts of debt. They've had the largest amount of personal, social sacrifices, even like mental sacrifices. Although I think we're navigating that better. We're not sacrificing our minds anymore. But it's like you keep coming into like thicker walls of fear. You know, the first one, it might have just been paper and then it was cardboard. And I'm at the point where now it kind of feels like a wall of bricks and it hurts. And I'm still having to double down and just run through it and push through the fear because I know that even like, especially right now where I'm at a really like critical point where I just spent multi five figures on inventory and my actually like, I'll just say it, my business hasn't been profitable for like the past 2+ weeks because
Hmm.
like meta ads died. I'm making new ads. I know it's gonna like work out and be fine, but like January's
Right.
been rough for a lot of ecom stores and whatnot with some meta bugs and changes and stuff, which I'm not gonna attribute it all to that. I take responsibility. I just need to make more ads. But I know that like if for some reason I held back or maybe I turned off the ads or oh I'm just gonna order like half of the glasses that I was gonna order, I know in the future be like, why the fuck did I do that? You idiot! You
Yeah.
idiot! But
Hmm.
in the moment, your brain is trying to convince you that like, oh, you're gonna die. You know, it's like you're gonna take this risk and it's not gonna work, and everyone's gonna hate you, and you're gonna be homeless on the street, and you're just gonna die because you can't eat. When it's like, if everything fell apart right now, worst case, if like so for some reason my girlfriend left me, which wouldn't happen, and like my apartment, I get kicked out of my apartment. It's like, okay, I have tons of friends here that would help me out, and I have all the skills to be required to like make something happen again, or I go home to like a loving family. Like we all have a there's always a couch for you. There's always a guest bedroom for you if you're not like a scumbag. Like and that it sounds like I'm shitting on homeless people. Like sometimes it's bad cases, but usually it's because they're on drugs and they
Hmm.
fuck over every single person they know, and every time they've bit every hand that has tried to help them for years and years and years, and that's why they're in that position. So if you're not that person where you're like you need meth every day and you're gonna steal your best friend's like copper from his house, then you're not gonna end up in that position, but your brain's going to convince you that that's the case. So you have to remind yourself that that's not the case. And another thing that we talked a little bit about recently, but it's the idea of like going to zero. It's like, oh, if like the business dies, I go to zero. And that happens because a lot of people identify themselves like they think I am the business, whether you're an ecom, whether you're a YouTube creator, whether you're a consult, it doesn't matter. You think I am the business. So if the business fails and dies, I die. When that's not the case, I would say like my business is my life. It is what I think about every morning. It's what I spend all my time on. It's what I talk about with my friends. It's my life, but I'm not the business. So like, it could go to zero, but I don't go to zero because I know every single thing that I've learned over the past 5+ years of like personal development, entrepreneurship, all the marketing, content creation. Like I'm like a Swiss Army knife with this shit, as are you, as are like most
Yeah.
of our friends that
Hmm.
are on this level, where it's like going to zero is actually impossible. You
Yeah.
becoming homeless and dying is actually impossible. So it's like like most of this risk doesn't actually exist. It feels like it. Even right now, like I get pangs when I'm like seeing the numbers go down in my account, seeing the ROAS plummet and the CVR plummet on my store for a couple weeks. But I have to keep reminding myself is like it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. I'm not gonna be homeless. I'm not gonna go to zero. I know all these different things. I could start up a new thing tomorrow and make some form of money, even if it's just
Hmm.
a little cash flow thing to make sure I don't have to go sleep on a couch or something,
Yeah.
but that
There's a
that
lot.
happens
Yeah.
every single time. So it's really important to remind yourself that like you can't go to zero, and it always ends up working out if you do not stop at some point. What sucks is if you push through like the paper wall of fear and the cardboard wall of fear and a brick wall of fear, but then you get to the cement wall of fear and you stop because it's like, oh, you just ran through all those walls and got beat up for
Hmm.
kind of for nothing because you just drop back and maybe you go get a normal job or you give up on your dream or something like that. But if you just keep running through the walls, falling off, going to zero is impossible.
Yeah. Something that really hit me when you were saying that is too, like, kind of like a double point on that is like people, they're afraid of going to zero because they have not realized that they were the asset they were building all along.
Yeah.
So they think that, oh, the business doesn't work out or this career thing or whatever, even if it's like something else, like let's say it's like the girl dumps you, but you had spent all this time talking to women and learning how to talk to women. It's like they think the thing was getting them the thing when in reality it was them that caused this to occur by the person that they became. And so you can't go to zero because you have made yourself the kind of person who can't go to zero. And then this goes into the risk point, because how do you make yourself the kind of person who can't go to zero? You take risks on yourself. You have to invest in yourself financially. You have to take those chances and go places and develop skills, try the business and fail at it. And then, I could have gone to zero in business, or just generally speaking, damn near close to zero on the first attempt I had at a business that absolutely failed. That gets you pretty close to zero because you still don't have many skills, but then you've done like 10 tries at this. You get better and better every single time. It's like, okay, if this one fails, well, I'm pretty confident I could go get a six-figure marketing job at this point, running some real estate firm's content for them. It's like that was just because I kept taking chances. How many chances I have to do with that? Every time I post on social media, how many people are afraid of doing that shit? And moving across the country, spending money on learning this stuff, spending my time on that instead of fucking off on some shit. And so, if you want to get to a place where zero is impossible for you, take more risks. Elon Musk, the like, if that dude, of all of his businesses fell apart, someone would just put him in at CEO for 50 million bucks a year. Like, worst case scenario for Elon Musk, he's going to make $50 million a year for the rest of his life. Like, because of why? Because of who he made himself into. And it's just, the better you get at this, the higher you rise. This is why, like, people will be like, "Oh, that CEO, man, he like lost the job, but then he immediately fell into the next one." Or like the NFL head coaches, like they'll get fired from one and then immediately go to the next team. It's like, you're not going back to zero because you've just done too much. You have too much skill. And then thinking about your brick wall point there, like the walls you got to go through of fear. Even with that, it's like you'll look back in 5 years on this thing that feels like a brick wall to you, and it will be the new paper wall. You'll be like, "I don't know why I was tripping about that. That was literally nothing." I think about shit like this, even with the, going to Houston, that felt like a big deal to me now. It's like, I'm probably going to move to Phoenix at some point later this year or 2027, or at least have a hybrid. Yeah, I'm going to be at least on a hybrid or something where I'm living in both places. And it's like that. I literally is like the amount of mental bandwidth I took into the idea of going to Houston. Now I'm just like, literally, I'm like, yeah, like, why the fuck not? Like, it's just, you acclimate to those things to where the brick walls now literally don't even exist. And then the next brick wall shows up, and you just like, your tolerance for this shit goes up the more you do it. And most people are just living in this super tiny little world they've built for themselves, where talking to a girl feels like a big deal, where quitting a job that's not even paying them enough to live on their own, it feels like a really big deal to them. And I'm like, what? Like, you literally have nothing to lose. And if you can't take risks now, you're going to be really fucked when you get to the next level. You got to have balls in this game.
Yeah. The biggest risk is ironically not taking any risk.
Oh yeah. It's like you feel like doing nothing feels safe. Yeah, it's like, it's people just don't. It's so, yeah, that's a really like, it's like true in every level. It's like the worst thing you can do with your money is just store it in a bank account. But it feels the safest because I don't want to risk losing it in the economy and the markets. Like, you could pick a stock that doesn't do that well and still do better than leaving your money in the bank account. That's almost like a good thing for everybody to think about too, is like, you don't the downside of not doing anything is so great that you don't even have to be that good at picking things. Like, you don't have to, like, the best, if your goal is to make as much money as possible, the best thing you could do is go get in finance or private equity or some shit like that. Try and climb that ladder. Maybe buy crypto earlier on, something like that. Find one of these AI, some shit like that. But if you didn't pick that and you just picked fucking software development, or you picked ads, or you picked something like that, it's not, maybe it's not number one for making money, but it is infinitely better than where you're at. You could go on fucking, like, just, if you're right at the bottom, you could go on Coursera, which is $50 a month, and Google has these certifications you can get for things that they teach you how to do. You could go learn how to be a project manager, which will pay you like fucking 50 grand at start, and maybe you can get to 80. Again, not the place we want to end, but it's like, if you got nothing, it's like that's not the best fit. But if you don't know what else to do, that's way better than nothing. And so, like, you just, the downs, like, that is the worst thing. The worst investment is no investment.
Yeah. Two things on that. The
Sure.
first thing, like going back to this whole idea of going to zero, is like, for people listening and for us to remind, I have to keep reminding myself, is that like, even if you fall, the ceiling rises with you. So that's what you're
Mm,
saying. Is like,
mhm,
oh,
mhm.
my 100K a month business just died. Well, I can go do this other thing and make 20K a month, like off rip, or
Mhm.
10K a month off rip. Or I can go work at a job and make 10K a month off rip because of these skills. Like, the ceiling actually was following you this entire time, but it's
You mean the
invisible. You
floor?
can't see it. So you think,
Mhm.
you look back. I look back at myself having fucking $800 in the bank account in a shithole in Houston. And I'm like, oh, that's the floor. And it's like, no, actually, the floor is like right here. It's not way down there
Yeah.
in hell. Like the floor actually
Mhm.
followed me. I'm just not aware of that. So that's something people need to keep in mind. And then more on what we were just talking about is if you're, I hate using the phrase entrepreneur. It's so ran through, but it's like if you're this ambitious person, which you end up doing some form of entrepreneurship or something where you want to make a lot of money or anything like that, and just life in general with fitness, health, personal development, money, all that is every like all you're doing every day is fighting entropy. That the law of it, that is all it is. And that, honestly looking back is like my ads kind of were dying. It's like, well, yeah, like meta, it was like overnight, like I couldn't have predicted it and all, but those were the ads because I went home for Christmas and then I was working on other stuff. So in theory, I wasn't making ads for a few weeks. So that was actually the law of entropy caught up to those ads because I wasn't making new
Mhm.
ads.
Mhm.
And it's like anytime the channel, like our YouTube channels have died off, or like the info businesses has died off, it was just due to the law of entropy. So if you're every day you're waking up and putting in inputs, they don't even have to be the highest quality, but you're fighting off entropy, with the weapon
Yeah.
of action, which is not thought. It is not watching Hermosi videos. It is not reading books. It is not thinking about the business. It's not talking about the business idea with your friends. Like, no, you have to like physically be typing things into your keyboard or doing something with your hands, or the
Mhm.
entropy demon is gonna come in and just fuck your shit up. And like
Yeah.
not reset you to zero, but reset you a little bit. It's gonna hurt. And you
Mhm.
could avoid that pain if every day you're just like, okay, like I don't want people to have anxiety about this. I don't want people to think it's suffering. It's an enjoyable thing. It's like I'm going to the gym so my muscles don't atrophy. It's like
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
And I enjoy it. And it's like I know if I just show up and even if like I go through the motions, if I try a little bit on a couple sets, my muscles aren't gonna waste away.
Yeah.
It's
I
not an
yeah.
overnight thing. It's constantly trying to creep up on you, but it's like it's like the meme it's like the meme that used to be big is like, would you get $1 million or $1 billion or something, but there's a snail following you your entire life, and if the snail touches you, you die. That was like a big meme years ago, and it's kind of like that. It's like entropy is kind of like a snail. Like you really have to stop for a very long time for it to catch up and touch you. So it's
Mhm.
like as long as like every day you're just actively avoiding entropy by doing literally anything of action that is external, you're putting inputs into the world, it's not in here, you're not mentally masturbating over things, you're gonna be good.
Yeah, I think you said you don't even have to be like you could be going through the motions. It made me think like everyone wants this perfect state to do this. And yeah, like the better your mindset's gonna be, like that's like a meta principle that you want to nail. But like I even think of like entropy, it applies to like cleaning up your apartment. And it's like you don't clean your apartment up for a week, it gets messy. You go clean the apartment up. Are you fired up and locked in on the perfect mindset to clean up your apartment, or you just clean the fucking apartment and the apartment's clean either way? So it's like you don't need like it's the same for business, it's the same for the gym. It's like you don't need to be super fired up, but you do have to just like go through the motions, go do the thing. And yeah, the entropy thing, which is just that things just deteriorate over time if you're not focusing on them. Yeah, it's like it is. I don't know why people would even be upset about that. Like that's like we're designed to fight entropy. That's literally like our hard wiring, basically. So like it's the fun of it, and everything does fall apart if you don't fucking focus on it. So yeah, no, I thought that's a great point.
Yeah.
But
No, it's the only
yeah,
constant, but that's actually reassuring because it means like, oh, as long as I'm fighting, like everything else is variable and random, and you have to like develop skills so like when opportunities arrive or like hardships arrive, you can handle them. But the law of entropy is actually a constant with everything ever. So it's like, oh, as long as I'm like maintaining stuff, this big boogeyman is never gonna catch up to me. And another thing, like based on what you were saying, like and what we were saying about just showing up, is like, yeah, it's really reassuring when I hear, like I think Hermosi has said, like I'll hear a lot of entrepreneurs that like, no one's at 100% for more. Like I'm like I'm blessed if I get 2 days in a row where I feel like I'm at 90+%. Like no one's operating
dude,
at fucking
yeah.
100%.
Hmm.
There's
That's
days
another
where
good
like I'm
reason to
working, I'm
yeah.
working, I'm like, fuck, I need to like lie down for 30 minutes and like reset. People are like, oh, he
Hmm.
took he took a break. And it's like I just had to.
Yeah. That's like I mean, that's another good reason to have friends. Cause like if you're just in a room listening to every entrepreneur on the internet tell you that they work 16 hours a day, you're gonna feel like shit. Cause that's how I was feeling all the time. And then you're like, oh, okay, like I've spent time around these people and it's like they get shit done, but they're also like, they cut out early today. They did this thing, like, but they made sure the shit got done. Gives you more clarity on what actually needs to be done, which is another reason to go get these friends is like you just stop doing shit wrong. This is kind of like a rule I have actually for myself now, which is that I'm not going to I really don't think I'm gonna try anything new unless I know somebody, like I have a mentor or I know somebody who's already done it or doing it. Because the fucking worst thing is the amount of time that you burn through by not knowing what you're doing. Like, you just move at a snail's pace until you finally get those bits of information that just starts picking up, and it's like
Yeah.
I from 21 to 22-ish years old to 25, 26, I didn't know anybody else running a business, and it was just fucking brutal. Like, any just every boneheaded mistake, every mindset that can be wrong, every perspective you're getting from some idiot on the internet who's lying to you, it's just all filtered into your head with no reference points, and you're just fucked. And so, yeah, like I Hormozy started out too. I really liked that on the Tony Robbins one, that he was also kind of like humanized a bit in that one. Like, just listening to these people and realizing like they're having bad days too as well, and like it's like, okay, thank God, like,
And they're
because
having bad
I always
years.
felt like, huh?
These motherfuckers are having bad years. And
Yeah.
they won't say Hermosi has said it. He'll say like, "Yeah, this last year was rough." You know, you're like, "Oh
Hmm.
shit!" Like they're not just having bad days; they're having bad years, and still they're eliciting results that like we desire.
Dude, yeah, and that, I guess that ties right into our third point, which is about like people thinking pain, which goes into taking risks and just general life. People thinking pain means something's wrong. In reality, just like how you manage this relationship with pain is absolutely vital, because you're it's just like it's a part of whatever you're going to do with your life. You're never going to get away with it, and get away from it. And if you're using that as the thing to keep you from taking action, eh, then you're missing like the whole point. And I think pain is just an invitation to grow, really. Like, so all these people are saying like I had a bad year, it's like they're going to be better for it. When you saying like I'm going through this brick wall of fear, it's like I said, in a few years you're going to look at it like it was a fucking paper wall. It's like the pain, like pain, which comes usually from taking risks. It's not really going to stay in your comfort zone. That's a different kind of pain, but it's usually the pain of risk is the thing that allows you to grow. It is, when you run up against some limiting beliefs in your consciousness and you have to work through those. It's painful, but it allows you to grow. And so if you're out here, you like thinking pain's a problem, you got to realize like it's the gold mine for everything that you want in your life. Like, the man you want to become is on the other side of a shit ton of pain, because the process of growth is painful.
Yeah, and it's important that and I think this was mentioned. Tony Robbins said this line before, but he said it in the recent collab with Hermosi, and it's like, yeah, pain is just like a constant in a sense, but suffering is a choice, and I needed to remind myself of that because like until death, all defeat is mental, all defeat is internal. All suffering is a choice. All suffering is mental. Like the past like week or so with this roller coaster, like any times that it was really eating me up, it was just me in my head. It was nothing physical attacking me. It was like numbers on screens and my own thoughts, my own subjective experience around it. And it's like a lot of people, and I think we kind of got misconstrued in the personal development things. Like you need to suffer, Goggins, Jocko, and it's like there's a difference. Like pain, yeah, like going to the gym and like feeling pain is like normal, but like people think like I need to go to the gym and just get really upset about this breakup and I need to just like be depressed the whole time and suffer. Like, no, that's a choice. Like you're doing that yourself. That's all you're generating that. That is not reality whatsoever. And I have to remind myself that about like the past January for the most part. Is like any suffering I'm feeling about this is all in my head. Like it's a little painful, it's a little uncomfortable, but that's not suffering. Suffering is a choice, and I have to tell myself that every single day.
Yeah, dude, two things that came up with that was like I've been thinking a lot about the Goggins philosophy. First one I guess I'll say was that it's interesting to me how it seems like the Hormozis and those kinds of guys, like it's like we're all navigating a similar path. Obviously, he's ahead of us on this journey, but like, we needed him to tell us like just do the work, suffering, get the shit done. Like maybe like when we did our 12 by 30 at the beginning of 2025. But now we've kind of grown past that. to where we're operating more out of that pull energy rather than like needing to suffer. And he's trying to wrestle with that too. And I'm like, that's really interesting. There's like a certain collective that's always kind of moving together and figuring
Yeah.
these
He
things
read the
out.
wrong books. He was like, I read all the self-help books and they didn't help. It's like, bro,
He
you need
didn't
to read Power versus Force.
Yeah, he didn't read David Hawkins, which led me into the second thing I wanted to say, which was I'd been thinking a lot about the Goggins philosophy on like basically the stick that you hit yourself with to go take action all the time and like really like fighting that bitch inside of you, do the work, suffer, all that kind of stuff. And I have this in the video that's going to go up on the channel tomorrow. Was I ended up I had this guy in my school community. We were on one of the calls, and he was kind of like crashing out on some shit, and he knew he was crashing out on the shit. That's why he brought it up. And my reaction in the moment was to give him was not to beat him up because he didn't need to be beat up. He knew he was like he didn't need it. And I guess this was my evolution on it, which led to this post, which was realizing the suffering around personal growth has to do with shit in your shadow. It's like you've got like we can go from a negative perspective on this. It's like let's say you struggle with porn or you struggle with waking up on time or something like that. A lot of times what's going on here is that you've got your persona which has a certain idea of who it wants to be. It doesn't like the idea of being somebody who watches porn. And so shoves this idea into the shadows of watching porn. And then what happens when you do it? You blame some force outside of yourself. I can't help it. I'm struggling with it. It's a force outside of me. These fucking Christian guys half the time are calling it like a demon inside of them and stuff like that because they can't own it. When the truth is you wanted to do it, but you just didn't want to admit that because that doesn't sound very good. And so you keep blaming all these things rather than taking responsibility. And in that conflict between your persona's idealized version of you and the shadow truth that you have not accepted is all the suffering, because that's where the shame's coming from. That's where all the friction, that's where all the I've got it. This is where, like, people start in apathy and then they move into this place where they're ready to fight their own suffering without realizing it's all self-imposed. So they feel like a victim to, I can't, I'm just not a morning person. And then they're like, no, I need to get up early and lock in. And then they don't feel like doing it, but it's like a war and every day is going to suck. And like they use that to like talk themselves out of the apathy. When in reality, the real thing is like, you just don't want to get up early, even though your persona, this part of you wants to get up early, but this part doesn't. And the real answer here is like you should sit there and be like, okay, I don't want the reason I'm not getting up early isn't because I'm not a morning person, it isn't because I had a bad night's sleep, because you probably slept fine. The reason is you don't want to. And then you ask yourself, okay, why do I not want to? And then you figure out it's a feeling. It's like, I just don't feel like it. It feels better to do this. And you realize it's all this emotional, childish energy. Then you kind of logic your way through it and you start to learn to start using values to make your decisions rather than feelings. You kind of like start letting that feeling like simmer itself out in you. Because once you're conscious that you're doing this, you start recognizing that wall of feeling and then acting regardless of it. It will just go away over time, and you'll integrate that part of yourself that was resisting it and change your belief around that subject of I don't want to or I don't feel like it, so that you're now completely in alignment, and then there's no suffering, and then you just get up on time. And it's the same with positive things. Like I realized this for myself with discipline. I was always having to beat myself with a stick to take fucking action on business, and I started noticing this, and I was like, why is this? Because consciously I want to do this, and consciously I even enjoy it. So why is this so hard for me to do? I like doing this. And I realized it was my mind's interpretation of discipline, seeing it almost like my dad telling me what to do when I was a kid, or seeing like a teacher making me do work. And I never did fucking schoolwork because fuck that shit. You're not telling me what to do. And so it was like a drill sergeant like berating a child, when in reality this was all just going on in my head. It's one person, but I've like, how we always do it. There's like, we got to lock in. You're talking to yourself like it's we, or you've got to get your shit together. It's like, who the fuck is this you? It's you, dude. It's like you've broken yourself into two to create this conflict in your head, which is all this suffering you're dealing with to try and get yourself to take action. When in reality, you should probably just figure out what part of you doesn't want to do this and then work on that. And then you get all of yourself moving in the same direction. And then suffering is no longer required to take action.
Yeah. No, 1,000%. Like, no, you summed it up really well. It reminds me of multiple times. This was at like after I did mental mastery. There was a while where I was doing calls, and I was like, real like these guys were just they're in like the 0 to 1 trenches. It's like I can't wake up early, I can't quit porn or whatever. And at first, because like it helped me a lot, is I had all these like mental exercise, like this identity stuff, but they couldn't really wrap their head around it. So I kind of pivoted a little bit. And I remember this one specific call. I hate that I forgot his name. It'll probably come to me. But we're in this call, and this kid is like, he was an older, like a guy, whatever. He was like, Kenny, what is like your, I'm struggling to get up early. So what's like your bedtime and morning routine, to get up early? And I almost indulged in this, and I was like, oh, I in the mornings I take a cold shower, at night I
Yeah.
do all the whatever. And then I stopped, and I was like, why do you want to wake up early? And he was like, well, it's more productive. And I was like, okay, why do you want to be more productive? He was just like, he did not have an answer. He felt like he should be productive, but he had no why. He had no
Mhm.
reason. So this whole time he was like hitting himself like, I need to wake up early, even though like he didn't want to. I need to wake up early. I want to wake up early. Can he give me some hacks? And
Mhm.
I was like, no, dude, you just don't have a reason. I
Mhm.
didn't I didn't wake up early when I don't have a reason.
Mhm.
That's not how humans work.
Mhm.
Just because like we can't like just because I feel like I should because other people do, like that's not concrete enough. And it was similar when I would, this was like further down the line when I did some higher ticket coaching, and I like two came to mind, and I said very similar things. And this was like high ticket, so we were doing one-on-one calls. They had access to the course, but it was mainly the calls that they wanted help with. And dude, it's like it's the porn thing. And I had to tell them, and like this hit them like rocks, and it fucked them up a lot at first, and it probably triggered more shame actually, unfortunately. But I had to tell them like the reason you're doing this right now is because you want to. Like,
Mhm.
let's not pretend like there's some weird mystical force on your computer. Let's not pretend like there's demons in the room, which like, I believe in demons, but I
Yeah.
think a lot of this is like if there is demons from this, which I believe there is. I believe there's like demons that can play on sexual stuff. Like I do believe that. I believe in the supernatural, but you want to open the door and let them in.
Yeah.
It's not that they're barging in through the door and like making you do the deed. It's like no, you're like you open the door and let the demons in. You open the browser. You want to do this, and I said this a lot in content too, and people resonate. But it's like wanting to want to do something means you don't want to do it. You
Mhm.
wish you had the desire. That guy in the call wished he was like me and had the why that got me up in the morning, but he didn't. So that you have to go back to like the first level, which is just accepting that like, hey, this version of you right now doesn't want to give up this pleasure source, doesn't want to wake up early because he maybe usually it's like you don't want to actually face the day. You actually want the day to be shorter because there's a lot of lack of clarity. There's a lot of suffering in the day. Therefore, you're kind of like cheating the system and like trying to like block out some suffering by sleeping in longer. At least that was the case for me for a lot of my life. When it's like, no, it's you want to do these things and you want to do this other thing, but the real you, not your thoughts and not your emotions, the you doesn't want that yet. So let's
Mhm.
actually just have like let's like forgive ourselves. Let's forgive the child within us. Like I had to forgive myself because I got exposed to porn at like 11 or 12 or 10 or whatever the fuck. I had internet at such a young age, and like forgive him, and not say it's demons, but just like okay, like why now do I still want to do this thing? If I want to not, it's like well, and then it gets uncomfortable. You have to figure out the reasonings. You have to figure out that, oh, I actually lack a lot of clarity in my life. I actually don't know why I want to get up early. I actually don't really know why I need to give up porn, like all that. And then you have to go through the process of removing the bad wants so that the you changes. Because only when the you changes, I'll actually, if I could share a screen real quick. 'Cause I was
I
thinking
think
about this
you
thing because I
can.
was thinking about making a video about this.
It should be down on the
And it's
buttons there, yeah.
it also kind of ties. You mentioned Elijah Long. It kind of ties into the retard maxing thing, which is just a funny
Mhm.
word. But it's like, and this is actually this is like a common thing with like Power Now, or whatever. But like Becker actually has done this exact drawing like years ago. But it's like you have the real you, and
Mhm.
really all that is like a consciousness. It's a soul, and it's
Mhm.
very malleable.
Mhm.
You have like your ego and stuff, but that's like a layer above that. That's not you. But it's like you have you, and then you have your thoughts, and then you have your emotions out here. So like
Mhm.
a lot what happened to me in my self-improvement journey is I very quickly was able to eradicate the emotion part. And I was
Mhm.
able to outthink depression, I was able to outthink a lot of these things, and I went into my thinking mind. But
Mhm.
still that wasn't truly me. And that means that, when a really strong emotion would hit, even if I didn't identify with it, the thoughts could get me there. I could
Mhm.
my own mind would use my intellect against me to get me to act on maybe a desire, to get me to procrastinate or not do the things I need to do because I was still identifying with my thoughts, even if I thought funny, but I wasn't my emotions. And what you actually have to do is you have to realize that you are just you, and you have to develop the ability to both observe thoughts and emotions separately. And I think that's why the Elijah Long like retard maxing thing has a lot of resonance because I think a lot of people are in this layer, which if you're in this layer of emotions, which emotions can have validity, like we have
Mhm.
God gave us emotions for a reason, but I'm talking like negative emotions, like negative thought patterns, lust, like sins, all that kind of stuff. A lot of people beat this and then they're stuck here. And it's like Tony Robbins says, if you're in your head, you're dead. You're always like
Mhm.
overthinking things, wasting time, trying to like fix it with your own intellect, your own thoughts. And like sometimes you get wins and it's a reinforcement loop. But a lot of times your thoughts will turn against you because it still wants like it wants to feed on an emotion, it wants to feed on a lust, it wants to feed on a primal desire. So like there were times back then when I was maybe trying to quit pornography that I would out intellect myself like, well, this isn't technically pornography, so this is okay, and
Mhm.
or this isn't exactly what I should be doing on my business, but this thing could also make money or get some views on YouTube, so I'm going to do this thing because I was able to intellectualize it. So like people that are stuck in emotions, like retard maxing is not a good idea because you'll actually just like stick to your emotions and like not let the thoughts kind of at least parse through it somewhat. But for people that are in this thought zone, you actually want to like realize that that's not you as well and get as close as you can to like just that pure consciousness that is you. And that's really hard to do. And like I've actually had to remind myself of this these past few weeks is that like because I can separate from the emotions really well, but I was getting back to the habit of attaching to my thoughts and trying to think through things. And that is not, it's like I was saying earlier with fighting entropy, like thinking about your problems is not going to solve a problem. If anything, your
Mhm.
subconscious finds the solutions, not your conscious mind 80% of the time. So that's why things like, when like our meditations, like prayer, like entering mindful states, entering flow state, and all that is so crucial because you have to realize you're not your thoughts. And on the thing you were saying earlier about like changing your wants and changing your are, this is actually the only thing that you also have dominion over and can change is you.
Mhm.
So it's
Mhm.
like, you don't think about the perfect mental routine or the perfect routine before bed and in the morning to get up early because that's still here. You're still trying to intellectualize it, and you don't get super fired up and like watch 10 David fucking Goggins videos to get yourself up because then you're still out here. You actually like, how do I become the version of myself that just gets up early? And there's zero thought that goes into it. There's zero emotion. There's zero whipping myself that goes into it. And that is when you like truly start to make progression in life. But at first, you have to like, it's like meditation. It's like subtractive. You have to like detach from emotions. You have to detach from thoughts. And I've had to been doing this the past few days where I have to like remind myself, I'm not my thoughts. I'm not my thoughts. I'm not my thoughts. Just make some ads. Sit at the computer. Just keep doing this. It'll pass. It'll pass. It'll pass. And also like when I meditate, kind of reminding myself, like stripping away all the emotions and thoughts, and like purely trying to visualize who I am. And it's the same idea of like you have to become that person before any of the results come. So it's like you actually like your priority should be shifting, like first subtracting the emotions and then subtracting the thoughts, and then doing that introspective work to shift who you are. Because if you're the person that wakes up early, you just wake up early and you don't have to waste your willpower, which does work sometimes. Like that's why those videos have millions of views. That's why we used to do that in the past,
Mhm.
like, oh, I'm gonna lock in this time. Like, oh, like we would let shame and like frustration and anger like leverage us a little bit. Or you can just like shift who you are. And I'm not gonna say effortless because like we said, pain is like a constant thing. There's brick walls that are gonna come up, but you're the person that can run through them. Like
Mhm.
you have that thickness to run through the brick walls. You don't stop at them anymore.
Yeah, I think that was really good. I think the way that I look at it is fairly similar, but it's like I think that your thoughts are there's two different like thinking minds. There's the one that you like critically think about something, and then there's the ruminating one that's just running all the time, which sounds like that's the one you've been battling recently. Is just he just keeps yapping and yapping and yapping. And like I remember sometimes I'll be driving in my car and I'm like, I've been running this track in my head for like a year now. Like, let's let this shit go at this point. In my interpretation of it, it seems like the thoughts are just like an abstracted thing that comes out of your prefrontal cortex of an emotional experience going on in your body, which just creates all the fucking dialogue going on. And so, what's worked for me at least is I was definitely like, you'll live in the thoughts, but to me, I figured out for me that what I was noticing was like, it seemed like the emotion was the primary. If I could get to the emotion and just sit there with it and be present with it, it would just dissipate out and then the thoughts would go away, which has led me to my, or like the thoughts would just change in color. Like their just perspective would be completely different. And it would be like, it's almost like all this noise would just get wrapped up into like a simple explanation and that you just now have in your head. And you're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, cool. Like no big deal here." Um, but it's made me think recently. I think this is something I've figured out through meditation, really working at that recently, is noticing that everyone's either being driven by their feelings or their values at any time. And really, male maturation or just any person's maturation is getting out of that feeling driven behavior into the value driven behavior, which is like you were saying, like if you don't want to, you don't need to fire yourself up and get into some rah emotional state. Because something I figured out was like, that's just the other side of the coin. And you're just riding a roller coaster at this point, and once you get completely done with all of that, you're like, I don't need to ride an emotional roller coaster. I don't need to fire myself up. I don't need to deal with this negative shit. I'm just gonna be value oriented. I'm gonna get these feelings. I'm just gonna be present with them so they just fade away. And then the more you do that, the more time you spend just being present and just taking action on things. It does get you to that point where like you just get done what needs to get done and you execute, and it's like it's way better than the rah high emotional state. It's just like you're just calm, and it's like it feels like you go from, I guess it's from that suffering kind of thing, like where you're plowing through a bunch of shit, which is really you just plowing through mental turmoil constantly, to where all of a sudden it just feels like life starts feeling like a buffet almost, where you're just like, I'm just gonna go up to the buffet and get what I want. Like nothing's in the way. I'm just gonna just like nothing's in your way, and you just clearly are moving forward. And it was all just in your head. And wrapping it, I guess, back to the pain point is like that process is extremely painful, but that is to me the deepest element of growth is right there. What we've been talking about for the last like 15 minutes.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think we described in different ways, like tie our things together and clarify. Because what you're saying is also kind of in the vein of like the suffering kind of wave, or not suffering, the surrendering wave we've been on with the David Hawkins stuff. Is like when I said like thoughts and emotions, I didn't mean be able to like push, like block them or push out. It is an act of surrendering to them. Like you realize they're not you and you surrender to them.
Mhm.
So it's like
Mhm.
you can sit in that emotion, and maybe thoughts are popping in, but if you don't identify with them, they don't keep going. They just flow through. It's like you're watching a river and like a rock or a piece of wood is like or trash like floating by. Like you don't have to go in and grab it and like identify with it. You don't have to jump into the river and flow with it yourself. You can just surrender to it, and it'll pass. And the values thing, I would say, yeah, the values thing would be close to like that central you, like the
Mhm.
value, like virtues. Like if we're
Mhm.
Christians and we're like created in God's image, is like deep down the use, it would be like the virtues, which are like the values, like the good things, and like in theory, like a virtue, if it's for the right reasons, is obviously not watching porn, is obviously waking up early, is obviously doing the work and taking care of your health and making money so you can help people you love and like help causes you want to help in the world.
Yeah, I think I had a good point. I thought you were gonna riff on that, so I lost it for a second. But damn, I lost it. But that was I think I was just gonna say this is like, oh yeah, I was gonna say that like people what we're talking about here, I feel like 99% of people can't grasp it because they haven't experienced it. But it is like this is game that you just don't find on the internet. Like an hour into this podcast here, because like that is like the most like that experience when you realize you aren't your feelings, and when the dust suddenly settles after that, and it's just like it's the most empowering feeling, I think. It's like that is the slavery everybody's living in here, is just like their emotions. They're just in a whirlwind of thought and emotion, and you realize you're not that shit. And it's like I feel like I experience it more and more to this point where it's a little bit more my normal state is to be able to operate that way. it's like if I could prescribe anything to anybody, it was like get to that state as much as possible. Everything else will take care of itself.
Yeah. No, 100%. That keeps it helps you stay in flow and stuff. And also, which I fall to this day, but I was definitely certainly worse about it when like worse habits were prominent in my life, is that when maybe you do something bad or you have a bad day or you sleep in or you don't hit a goal that you wanted to hit or something like that, these negative emotions will hit, and it's important to not react to that and try to like you said, it's two sides of the coin. It's important to not then beat yourself up about it and feel shame, because that's just another emotion that you're staying in emotion land. Instead of
Mhm.
surrendering to it and letting it pass, you're generating another negative emotion, more suffering, and you think it's productive. Like I used to think when I would just get, like, years ago, and I like relapse on maybe pornography, and I would sleep in. Like that was a problem with me for a while, and I would just like beat myself up for hours, and I thought that was productive. I'm like, oh, I'm beating that out of me. Like, oh, I should feel
Mhm.
shame, never again, whatever. That was arguably, which don't do bad things either way, but that was more damaging than if I would have just shrugged it off,
Mhm.
like 100%, because I was staying in emotion land and not getting back into like just me flowing, surrendering to these feelings.
Yeah, you're just charging it up at that
Yeah,
point. Like, yeah,
you're
that
just staying
sucks.
on the roller coaster.
Mhm. Well, Dub, do you have anything else you wanna wrap up here?
No, I mean, if we wanna reward the people who listen this far, maybe we could do like personal. I was gonna ask you because like we talked a couple days ago, but I was just gonna like ask you like an update on personal life and PED and stuff like that. Sure, they'd like to hear.
Oh, yeah, so PED, actually, I'll go grab it real quick. I got the label printed off
Hey,
here, so I'll show
oh,
you.
sick.
Yeah.
That's sick, guys. You gotta buy PED when it drops. I'm hyped. I'm getting that on pre-order. Sick of drinking a gallon of liquids a day just to like start my day.
Yeah, so this I it's fun so, like, I told you I had to do the fucking, approval of it and print off a proof, and then they had to get the labels printed off, the labels finished, their compliance team approved it, and then they were like, "Okay," and then they send me over this proof, and they're like, "How does the proof look? We recommend that you print it off first." And then they said in there, fonts under 5-point fonts tend to not show up good on packaging at this size. So we recommend not using this. I'm like, why did you tell me this now after we approved everything? Because we used 4-point font for the supplement facts and for other parts on it. So I was gonna crash out and I was gonna be like, I gotta fix this whole fucking thing. I was gonna go into emotion land. I was like, no, let's just go print it off. Let's see and like let's deal with it, learn this lesson, deal with that pain, keep it moving here. But I printed it off and it actually ended up being large enough. And I don't know why the UPS store, I told them to print it off as like maybe I said laminate by accident, but like I just wanted like the matte label. They laminated a giant piece of paper for it, but this is it at full size. So this is the label
Oh
full
yeah.
size here. Yeah, it came out good, and the size of everything came out good. So like it's kind of glaring because of my light with the lamination they put on it, but in person you can see it clearly. So it's not going to have to be remade. So that's that. They've approved it. They said within a week we should have all the labels in hand, like they're getting them printed off. So I've got, I think, a little over 1,000 getting printed. So I've got enough for like the next couple batches as well. And then finally after that, the things will be ordered and sent out. She said 8 to 10 weeks, but she said it might be faster. And I was like, why does this take so fucking long? But I looked it up and I was like, okay, like there's actual explanations for this. Like it has to go through certain testings and third party, like like quality assurance stuff. So basically, it's like to make sure it's a legitimate product, and like so they just batch test everything, and like there's different regulations and stuff that go into making these kinds of things and making them approved. So like that's what slows it down. So they weren't just like fucking around or something like that. So, but it does sound like I might be able to get it quicker still. But yeah, so that's where I'm at with PED. Um, Other stuff I've been working on. I might be having a boxing fight on in February. Like my coach,
February.
yeah, out of nowhere. I don't know. He brought it up on Tuesday. My coach did. He was like, because he was gonna fight in something, and then they changed it from a pro fight to an exhibition because of the guy running it or something. I don't know exactly what happened there, but he's like, I walked in Tuesday and he was like, he was like, "Do you want to fight in February?" And I was just like, Sure. Okay. Yeah. I was like, I basically literally, this man could lead me to slaughter. Like, I just let him just drive the boat. I'm like, all right, yeah, if we're fighting in February, we're fighting in February. And he was like, yeah, so it'll be like, it'll be headgear and everything. And I was just like in Charlotte. I was like, yeah, okay, I guess we're doing that. He didn't bring it up today. I'm down to do it as long as I don't have to. If I can just roll up and do it, I'm down to do it. But if I need to cut some weight or if I need to sell tickets to make this happen or something like that, I don't want to do it. But he didn't bring it up again, so I'm just gonna let him. If I show up on next Tuesday or in like a couple weeks, he's like, "Are we still doing that?" I guess I'm gonna be like, "Yeah, I guess so." Like, I guess we'll do it. Um, that's pretty much what I've been working on. I revamped kind of my YouTube plan a bit to figure out how to like I really took a lot, honestly, out of that. I'd been thinking about this from that. I mentioned I was reading that Hawkins book, Success is for You, which is really like the business kind of book, which is an
Mhm.
interesting book. Because it's a manuscript that he wrote before he ever wrote Power versus Force or anything like that. And it's interesting that you can tell that he briefly mentions like kinesiology and the scale of consciousness in it, but you can tell like he had not really discovered all of these things yet. And he was like figuring them out, and it's even the way he communicates is different, and it's like I think he just like transcended a lot over the time of him discovering this stuff. But one of the things he talks about in there is like success not being just like, and it's not to be like you can't make money. He's very pro money in the book, like, so he's not one of these spiritual people who's like you can't make money, but he's like success is like, are you aligned, or is your intention aligned with a positive in that power versus force kind of context? Like, is it a positive good that you're aiming at? And if you've got that, then your endeavors are way more likely to succeed. And then also, they're going to actually give you real fulfillment out of doing them. And this had led me to that, plus Tony Robbins talking to Alex Hormozy about kind of like purpose driven shit he could do for himself, had led me to thinking about what to do with this YouTube channel. Cause like I have a sunk cost fallacy with it a bit, where I'm like, I don't want to just like throw it out. I put effort into it, and like I don't want to just bury it because it's like and come back and try and resurrect it. I'd rather just keep doing it, and I kind of enjoy doing it still. But I was always like, I'm just doing it for views, and I didn't really like maybe money. And when I thought about it in that context, I was like, this is not worth it, because like the amount of energy I'd have to put in to make a lot of money off this is just not a good use of the time. So I started thinking about it with that Hawkins context of like making sure that you're coming from a good intention. And I was like, okay, what would be a good intention for this if I was going to do it? And then I heard the Robbins interview and Hormozy talking about he wanted to help 100,000 guys get to $100,000 net worth in the next 24 months. And I was like, okay, like if I were going to do this, it would be like I would like to help like 100,000 guys who are like me in their 20s who needed this information, because I know I've got a shit ton of value I can help those guys with. I know there's a lot of guys who are like me when I was 20 years old, who were in college getting fucked up with no plan, who could use this information, or were me alone listening to just Andrew Tate tell me I was a brokey and that I need to work hard, and he worked 20 hours a day and I was a failure or something. Like, they need somebody who can help them and be this mentor to them. And that almost like flipped it to really something where it's like, oh, success is within my control. Like, I'm gonna focus my intention for this channel on helping 100,000 guys become successful men, meaning like they're positive, they escape. Because like you just think all the bullshit, like the black pill doomer shit, the fucking just the cesspool of crap content out there that guys are like falling for, and just the doomer mentality. It's like becoming successful to me, and I describe it as like they're in shape, they've got a positive mindset, they've got a career going for themselves, whatever that is. Like, they're just positive overall net contributors to society with a good outlook on it. I was like, that's something I'd be fucking thrilled about, because honestly, if I've helped the guys in that school community, that makes me happy. So that gave me like a mission focus, which actually, if I'm going to hit 100,000, I need to get more views. I need to grow the channel. And so as a byproduct of that, you're going to make money anyways. But I was like, okay, that's something I can aim at. And then I don't need to sit around and be like, is this worth it for a monetary outcome? Like, I'm driving and contributing in a way that I think is more positive consciously. So that has caused me to reframe my focus on the channel to a way that I think is going to benefit everything in my life. I think it'll help with PED sales, but I think primarily it will help me, give me a focus to continue to grow it and have just another positive dimension of myself, I guess you could say. So that's been, I guess, a long riff of the shit I've been up to recently.
I
What
like
about
that.
you? Yeah.
Well, before we transition, I was gonna say I like that because there was a while where I was like, sunk cost fallacy.
Mhm.
I'm like, bro, I left 250,000 subs,
Yeah.
like, like cold turkey.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
if I couldn't have Yeah, if I couldn't have found a good reason, I was just gonna drop it again. But I think, I think the reason, because I've quit doing the YouTube channel multiple times before, and I think like, why did I not want to do it again this time? And honestly, I think it might have been this reason deep down is like
Yeah.
I talk a lot of times to the guys in the school community in these videos. And so I know I'm helping these guys. And so I don't want to completely drop it for that reason. So now I just made that primary. I'm like, okay, like this is an opportunity for me to serve and help these guys get better and be hopefully, because like nobody's talking about this consciousness shit we just talked about. Nobody's given the nuanced perspectives we just gave in this video. Like somebody's got to fucking do it. So that gave me the juice for it. And now that I just occurred to me, I was like, I think the reason that I wasn't quitting it, considering I've quit it before, was because I kind of on a deep down level knew I was providing some value to people. And now I'm just doing that more consciously, I guess.
Yeah. No, I like that a lot. And from a business perspective, which I know this isn't the main driver, but that literally turns the men into the ICP
Hmm.
because they you
Hmm.
get them like basically like how I visually like, oh, you're pulling guys in their 20s out of lower levels of consciousness, and then that turns them into ambitious men, what entrepreneurs, whatever path they decide, fitness, whatever path they decide to go down. And those are the people that would take PED. Whereas like
Yeah.
when I was in the slums, if some motherfucker came up to me and tried to sell me a supplement, I'd be like, go fuck off, dog. Like I don't need a
Hmm.
supplement right now. Like I want to kill
Hmm.
myself. But they will become the ICP, and then
Yeah.
they'll want PED and maybe some 24
Yeah, I was thinking
glasses.
that too, because like I do think this will be valuable for PED at the start, because we talked about this recently with like trying to do brand stuff rather than just relying on ads, so that we have more control over, consistency of things. We're not at the mercy of meta ads and stuff like that. And obviously this won't be like the end all be all of the brand, but it is like a brand moat that I sort of have a little bit. And I was like, if I do grow this by now having a mission to focus on that gets me to do it, rather than what's the point and being kind of nihilistic about it, it will by its nature lead to more sales of it. And if I've got that attitude, I think I'll probably have a better attitude when even creating the content, to like have that kind of approach that's always lifting them up rather than like getting into some drama or some bullshit. And I know all the guys in the school community are going to buy PED. They're all going to fucking pre-order it. So it's like, if I take that same attitude of helping and contributing to those guys and I expand it out, like surely some other people are going to fuck with the product and the vision and the brand. So I think it will just be a net on everything. And I think it's kind of like listening to the classical music. It's like the more time you spend in things that are of a higher state of consciousness, I think it just sets a new baseline. And I think if you do that, more good shit's going to happen for you. So that's kind of my, I guess, philosophy on it.
So what is which I know this is like a recent revelation for you, so I don't want to press too hard, but like what does that look like if that's now if instead of like, well, I'm maintaining this channel because I want to just keep getting a couple thousand views a video and like I've put all this time into it, where now it's like I want to help all these men get out of this like shitty level of consciousness. What does that look like if the number is 100,000? Like, are there changes coming to the channel
Oh
or to your
yeah.
approach?
So I'm so the biggest changes are like I need to I put down a little bit of a structure. I worked on some stuff with chat. Like, I mean, the biggest things, like I've been when I was in that kind of I'm just doing this because of sunk cost fallacy, or that's how I was thinking about, I'm just putting some shit out mode. I was very like, I didn't give a fuck about the title. I was like half-assing the titles. Thumbnails, like they weren't always bad, but they just like I thought about it for like 10 seconds. Those two elements obviously need to be better, like the packaging, like the title. So now from now on, I'm not just going to say what's on my mind. It's going to be, okay, what's on my mind that I can help these guys with, but how do I say this and package it in a way that they will give a fuck about so they click? So starting with getting the titles nailed down. And I've done this, the last three videos have all been like 1 out of 10s. So like I mean, I've
Oh wow.
ramped it back up pretty quickly. So that's one of them. Thumbnails, I'm okay. Like those don't need to be like crazy aesthetic. I really don't think for my role, like, because I'm positioning myself as a mentor here. And so like even I was working on this, and chat's going to kind of reaffirm my biases, I know, but like I still do think it was like correct on some of this, was to say like, if people are coming to this channel and they're looking for mentorship, they don't want like cut kind of content. Like they want to know why they should give a fuck. You need to have a strong hook that's emotional to get them involved, and you need to speak about their problems. But I think that ability to sit there and just talk is part of the appeal of that, which I think a lot of the content that's working in this space right now is people just talking without needing it to be completely scripted and everything. So my structure is going to be really good titles, thumbnail that I'm gonna make sure hits on something that clicks, right? It's probably still gonna be, a picture of me or something like that, but it'll either have text that really ties to it, kind of like I was doing at the beginning of 2025, which was working in a lot of ways. It was growing the channel, or it's going to be something that's got some sort of images on screen that are, compelling and relevant and things like that. So it'll be something like that. And then it's going to be every video I need to make sure I have like a sentence, like a one sentence thing, almost the same way you need to be able to explain your business in a sentence. What is the one sentence outcome I'm trying to get for these guys out of this video? Know what that is going into it clearly. Then have like what is the emotional hook that ties to their internal experience? Have that down. So every video starting with that emotional hook that ties to their internal experience, knowing what we're trying to get out of this, the correct packaging, and honestly, I think that'll definitely make a lot of a dent. I don't know if that'll get me all the way, but I think that's enough to get me up to, I think that's enough to get some videos to hit. I mean, it's proven to be enough to get some videos to hit. So we'll see from there if I need to keep making more changes, but that's where I'm starting at right now. And then, I think if that works for the next few months and I go, because I was at like, I mean, even a few months ago, doing basically that strategy, probably even a little bit less of it, I was hitting like 5,000 views a video. It was like at a pretty consistent clip. So I had gotten my views up pretty decently. So let's say over the next 2, 3 months, I'm back up to like 5,000 views a video. Okay, then PED selling, more real estate deals have come in. I got more cash to throw into this if I want to take it in some other direction that I think would be valuable. And so we'll just kind of play it from there. But that's my first strategy on it.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. That's what like I would like as you were explaining, I would think like, oh yeah, and you should do this, and then you would say that, and I was like, okay, cool. He has it mapped out pretty well. Yeah, I think the topics and the titles will be a big thing, and yeah, the maintaining that clear delivery, like kind of raw,
Hmm.
not over edited style, but not the riffy. Oops, this video was 40 minutes, and like it could have been 15 or 20, and then with
Yeah.
the planning and like kind of you like if you really care about the viewer, it's gonna make you plan the delivery mechanism for the lessons in a different way. Whereas like if
Hmm.
I like and maybe I might have done videos like this in the past, where it's like, oh, I know this so well and I'm so right, so I'm just gonna yap about it. And if they listen, that's good. And if they don't, that's their fault. Whereas like if I'm really trying to like help the person, I'm like, okay, what story can I tell that'll like pull them in and like will give them the shift, or what analogy can I use, or like visual, do I draw something like that? So I think that'll help a lot. It kind of
Hmm.
reminds me, in a sense, it's different, but it reminds me of kind of Alex Becker and Charlie Morgan's style of content. Because like you'll see like hit Becker or Charlie Morgan is like they'll do a really good title, and like sometimes they'll do a more raw thumbnail, sometimes it has something, but they're never trying to do like the weird overly professional stuff, but they're just whatever gets the click. And then when you get inside, they're teaching it in a way that like really makes sense, whether it's a story or a
Hmm.
drawing or an analogy or something like that. So I could see that doing very well.
Yeah, I think that's the meta. Like that's my favorite content creators as I listen to like people yap a lot of times. As long as it's just like, are you yapping about something I'm interested in? And then I just want to hear the talk on it pretty much. It doesn't need to be crazy edited. It's like parasocial a lot more that way, I think too. It doesn't feel like it's the difference between like a politician's speech that they had somebody write up and they're reading it off a teleprompter versus Trump just yapping about some shit. And it's just people just kind of fuck with the yapping a bit. As long as you're not going on too long about Elon's rocket and like all that shit, like way too much. But that's what you said. Like just don't riff way too much. And I think if I don't have the slideshows, which I'm not planning to do a lot of those, like I don't think I'll riff much because it's the slideshows that tend to make me riff. Like every time I get to a slide, a new thought hits my head and I just go with it.
Yeah, it's too easy for those to become crutches.
Yeah. Yeah. So what about you? What you been I know we mentioned before the call that you were working on you'd made some new ads. What else has been going on?
Um, Personal life,
You
my
ordered the
girlfriend's
Mozart
gone for
tickets.
like the next 2 plus weeks, so
Mhm.
I'm just home by myself. So it is like I'm like as I was kind of saying, I'm like navigating like it's just me and my thoughts, and I'm really trying to like not get into my head much about anything. But I don't know, it's kind of boring. It's just 24th, and navigating like this dry spell, and hopefully come because I still think like within a couple months, like yeah, 6 figure a month business. I mean, I just finally the payment went through with my bank, so like 5 figures into more glasses, like that are manufactured now on the way. I just got you saw it, but I got better packaging now, like a nicer box, a thicker pouch, like all these little improvements. And then I've talked about more in-depth stuff with like ambassador marketing and branding that's coming down the line. But like right now, it's like I need cash flow, like not
Mhm.
even for like a fix the mental suffering thing, but just for a fact, like from a business perspective. So like right now, it's like I need to just I guess it's time to throw a lot of shit at the wall again, which I did that before Black Friday and Christmas, and that worked. So I need to
Mhm.
enter that kind of season again, where I'm just like I'm doing the work. I'm like output, like new ads, videos, and recently I've been resurrecting old ads that like were actually decent, but had really high CPMS because it was a new ad account. So now I'm like re-editing them, making them a little better. Yesterday and today, I published those, so we'll see how those do. And now it's like I need to go through there's a lot of things. I need to go through a backlog. Like my DMs to myself, like I'll DM the 24th account, like reels or ads that I really like. There's probably like 100 that I should
Mhm.
make throughout this
Mhm.
year of that. And then more testing. I think I need to test different landing pages. I need to test advertorials, price points. I need to set up like email flow to where like people opt in with email and get a better discount, and then that'll raise the CVR because my CVR is in the shitter the past couple of days. I got cut more in half when the
Mm.
ads died, but that's pretty much where I'm at, and it's personally just like if feelings come around this surrendering to it, but really just trying to get into the flow of things. I still don't feel like I've truly been in the flow of things, but I'm only like 2 days into like this the great lock in of the next 2 weeks or so while my girlfriend's
Mhm.
gone.
Mhm.
So that's kind of where I'm at, and then also staying in line spiritually. Like it's especially when she's not here, it's easy for me to like skip paralyses on Wednesdays and like show up a
Mm.
little late to liturgies because I just like oh I didn't think about it enough because like she's in choir, we have to be on time, we have to be in
Oh,
choir
wow, she's
practice. Yeah,
in
so it's like
choir.
she gets me to go earlier than I would have gone, and she gets me to go every Wednesday because she has choir practice, and now she's gone. So I was like, I really need to hold myself up to that because that's another thing. It plays on each other, not to get too like spiritual, but if I'm getting too in my head with like the suffering of the business stuff, I also kind of turn away from God. Whereas like when I'm actively praying and like trying to be do good and like confessing and getting the Eucharist, it also plays positively into the business because I'm literally like the muscle is already warm of like the muscle of surrendering and the muscle of being present is already kind of warmed up. So it'll help me through these kind of rocky times with the business. But that's pretty much where I'm at right now. I don't it's very simple and boring, honestly. There's not
That
I'm
and
not I'm not
boring.
revamping the YouTube or anything yet. Although I will
Mhm.
say the past couple days as I've been going back and watching a lot of old Alex Becker, I've been getting like moods and I haven't acted on it yet, but I'm getting moods of like I'd like to make a video on this topic, like literally just screen record, draw, don't edit it at all, and just put it out there to help people. So like maybe I am tapping similar into some kind of like altruistic reason to maybe
Mhm.
fire up content again. So we'll see if
Mhm.
anything transpires. I'm not gonna promise anything. I mean, I'll
Mhm.
share this to my YouTube, but I'm not gonna promise anything crazy. But there might be a couple of videos popping up that I find helpful that I'm in the mood for.
Nice. I mean, it's just it'll like I was telling you the other day, I'm like, worst case scenario, you get some glasses at a high profit margin that you get to sell and like keeps you weathers the storm a bit while you're going through ad apocalypse here. So yeah, I think that would be sick if you get back on it. The space needs us. Like who else is out here really putting out the heat,
Dude,
you
no
know?
one. I'm watching,
Yeah,
yeah, like if I want to go watch some stuff and get the mindset right, I'm watching shit from 5 years ago that
literally.
like no one
Yeah.
knows about.
I'm watching David Hawkins'
Yeah, or Dave,
15-year-old
yeah.
videos. Yeah, because ain't nobody out here putting out real game like that. Yeah, you got the Mozart Beethoven tickets. That's the other thing. That was badass.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah. Me and Keefe have been on a classical music kick the past few days, which I've had phases of it years ago, especially when I was in like a chess phase, because I swear it makes you smarter. But I'm
mhm,
trying to listen more classical music, keep the vibrations high, less Drake, no low vibration hip hop, which I've been guilty of like before the gym or like before work to try to get myself in the mind. But it's like I don't need to be vibrating my root chakra and
yeah,
getting into
yeah,
primal desires.
yeah,
That's not where we're at. We want to be heady. We want the classical. I want to feel like I'm in Star Wars. So let's put on some John Williams Star Wars
mhm,
soundtrack.
yeah,
But yeah, I booked because we were. I guess it's like the string. a string quartet band or whatever, but they do these things like all the time in Phoenix where it's like candle lit. You show up and they might play like covers of Drake, but it's classical. But this one they're doing Mozart and Beethoven, and it was on the 14th, and I was like, all right, let's treat the misses to that. So we'll
That's
surprise her
awesome.
with a little Beethoven and Mozart. That'll be good for the mind, you know.
Yeah.
If that's
Yeah,
my date night fucking off, dude, that's pretty good.
that's really good. That's like food for the soul. So like that's like yeah, I'm really like I'm almost like interpreting everything through a consciousness lens rather than a business lens at this point. I'm like, will this keep me in a good state of mind? I'm like, if it is, like, let's just do that. We'll just keep doing more of that. Yeah, I think like I was thinking of this today. Like you know, when I was like 18, 19, I went to a few concerts. It was never my idea, but someone would be like, we should go to this concert. It's like a bunch of us would go and get drunk at some country music concert or some shit. That shit is just trash to me. But then you go to like I'm so down for a classic music symphony. Like that's
Yeah,
like I feel like I was listening to this. I went on Yo-Yo Ma's Instagram today, and he was talking about music being energy and how we're all energy, and like he was like thinking about what music is to people and all this. I was like, I feel like this is like where we belong. Like this is our vibe. Like
yeah,
both of us, neither of us want to go to a fucking concert, but we'd be down for a symphony because it's just different. I'm like, I feel like that's like, you know, meeting people. Like we've got great friends at this point, but I feel like there's a class of friends that we will meet as we not to sound like this sounds really like egotistical or something, but like as our consciousness rises or like we get out of like these kind of like base desires that drove us for a long time. I feel like we're gonna run into a lot of people like they go to classical music symphonies. Like the type of person you'd meet at a classical music symphony, same way that like you met your godparents at the church. Like it's like you're not gonna be in exactly the same place maybe as all of these people. Maybe it's not gonna be best friends, but it's like everybody you meet you're gonna like. You're like, all of these people are great. I'm like, this is the spot I belong at.
yeah. It's like there's outlets of varying frequencies that we can just plug ourselves into. So it's like we
Hmm.
could go plug in a shitty low frequency. We can go to some I don't know, like a Yeet concert or something,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
like might feel good in the moment, but it's very low level stuff. Or we can go to a classical thing, which that when you think about it historically, all the wealthy and all the opulent regularly attended symphonies.
Hmm.
It was like the entertainment thing. So they were literally just going and farming high frequency stuff, and they were the
Yeah.
they were the class of high intellect and the class of wealth. Whereas like the lower levels, they were doing their own thing.
Yeah, drunk at a pub with, like, that fucking Scottish music, like, kicking their heels and, like, with the
Yeah,
mug in their
yeah.
hand and shit. Yeah, yeah. Now that's like, I was listening like I said, I was on his Instagram today, Yo-Yo Maz. It did make me, like I was mentioning with, like, I guess, with this channel and trying to have, like, a good reason for it or an altruistic reason or something to serve something other than my own personal needs or goals, and Tony Robbins talking about that, and I was like, Yo-Yo Ma's like he's very like everything he's talking about. You'd think it's like, you know, if you come from like the classic like egotistical kind of Instagram, you'd think it would just be a bunch of aesthetic shots of him on the fucking cello and some like look at me type shit. But everything he posts is like some sort of like cause he's involved in, some sort of
Mm,
like thing, like talking like it's all about the other person, like this value very type of thing. I was like, this is like a thing where like your consciousness rises to a point where like it's shit that I couldn't have grasped a year ago because I was just like, I don't even know how to think about anything other than making money. Like that's like everything I look at is like money and bank. How do I get money? Like it was that was all I thought. I'm like, there is like a whole lot of people out there, probably not a lot, but like there's a good bit of them who have, I guess, transcended that obsessive need for everything to be about cash or sex or degeneratism and like they're living in their own little bubble, which is why you never see these people because their consciousness does not collide at all with normal people realities. But I'm like, there's a lot of people out here who are just like conserving fucking national parks in their spare time because that's just some shit they give a fuck about. And I'm like, that's like a way better I feel like maybe it's just maturity or something, but I'm like, that's just a way better way to live your life. Like you're not that's what you naturally it's the natural byproduct of the mindset we've been training of like I'm good financially. The natural byproduct, if you actually believe that deep down, you're like literally got nothing to worry about is like how can I help other people? How can I serve other people? And so it's like, and that's also I think train getting yourself more into that mindset of like how can I serve other people is also going to help with that feeling of I'm fine because they both kind of work with each other. If you're constantly like, I need more, I need more, I need more, you're gonna feel like that lack. But if you're like, I'm good, how can I help other people? How can I serve it? You're gonna forget about that. You're gonna and everything's gonna go totally fine.
Yeah. It's good to hear that Yo-Yo Ma's not just aura farming. He's got a he's got
What
a
if it's
Tony
like him
Robbins
and
purpose.
bitches? Him and
Yeah.
just a bunch of hoes on the gram?
Yeah.
That would be hilarious. Yeah, no. So that's like yeah, this was like a good, I guess, deleted scenes here or bonus track at the end of this podcast.
They deserve it. And join us for next episode where we're just gonna crash out on the recent Andrew Tate drama. We're gonna play some Yeet and some
Oh,
SD Kid. We might even jerk off before the pod. Just get ready for that one. But right now we're in a high frequency.
yeah, yeah, just wait for us to lose it again.
Ain't gonna
Cool.
happen.
Yeah, cool.